Yep, it's time. It's just about time for football season to kick off. There are several pro preseason pro football games going on right now. I kind of I kind of lost track of the pro football circuit. I spend most of my time keeping up with the college football circuit actually. And of course, the Crimson Tide of Alabama will be going into this season as the reigning and defending national champs. Of course, I won't be watching the Alabama games when I can. Now, aside from being a Bama fan, I'm also a realist. You know, Alabama is not going to be the only team that I look at this season. There's several other teams we'll be looking at this year, this season. I'll be looking at Auburn. The last I heard, they got themselves a new head coach, and it's going to be interesting to see how well Auburn's season plays out leading up to the Iron Bowl this year, which I think is going to be at Jordan Hare Stadium this year. I think it's going to be at Jordan Hare this year. Um, Another SEC team I'm going to be looking at is LSU. You know, aside from the scandal that they got hit with a few seasons ago, if I remember correctly, LSU's always known to have a good squad. I mean, I'm not sure when LSU ever had a squad that really sucked. Les Miles has a good, you know, there's a pretty good chance that LSU and Bama are going to meet outside of their regular scheduled meeting, like in a playoff game or something like that. Who knows? But I sense a rubber match between LSU and the Crimson Tide of Alabama during the season to see which team is the better team. Well, considering the fact that Nick Saban came from LSU, you know, basically when LSU looks at Saban now, they're saying you're a traitor. You should be with us, and then but Bama came in and swooped him up. The rest is history. But another team I'm going to be looking at besides Alabama, LSU, Auburn is the Rebels of Ole Miss. They're always known to have a pretty decent squad. It's gonna be interesting to see how their season plays out. One other team I'm going to be looking at, though they're not a part of the SEC, is the UAB Blazers. It's not every day that I speak of the UAB Blazers, and I kind of have a personal reason that I'm going to be looking at watching the UAB Blazers this season. Well, the next 3 to 4 seasons anyway. But I sense that Alabama's gonna have Alabama's gonna have a pretty good season. Definitely champ. They're definitely gonna be in the line for yet another. national. They're definitely in the running for another national title. I mean, this could be the Crimson Tide's time for a three-peat. I mean, they've won three out of four national championships within the last 4 years. It was a few seasons ago that I stated that before they leave their respective schools, both Nick Saban and Gene Chizik, who was then the head coach of Auburn, would have at least one championship run each. That same season, Bama brought home, Crimson Tide brought home the national title. The very next season, Auburn brought home the national title. Both of those seasons were undefeated, by the way. And then Bama, despite the one loss they they received both seasons, the last two seasons, mind you, ended up bringing home the national championship. It was actually last season that they had two SEC teams vying for the national championship, which is first time I've heard about it. And nobody really wanted to see a rematch of these two teams. I mean, LSU was number one, Bama was number two in the nation. But yet they didn't want to see these two teams go at it again. I'm like, they're the number one and two team in the nation. Why not? I mean, that don't make any sense. It doesn't matter if they're. It doesn't matter if they're in the same conference. I mean, if they're the number one and two team in the nation, and both of them are in line for a national title shot, let them go at it. I mean, it's not going to be any different than them playing a conference game. It's just going to be a national championship conference game. Duh. But needless to say, I will be checking on the teams I stated before, well, actually, throughout the entire season. The SEC teams I mentioned, not to mention the UAB Blazers. Don't go away. I'll be right back. I hope. No, I'm not going to say that I hope. I already know that most of the parents out there took advantage of the tax-free weekend in preparation of getting their kids ready to go back to school here in at least Jefferson County. Where I think Shelby County took part of it as well. But it's not every day that I talk about school in particular. You know, everybody's been to school. You know, who hasn't? I mean, whether it be homeschool, private school, or public school, everyone goes to school. And I already know that some teams are asking why even bother going to school. You know, school isn't that important. Well, I tend to disagree with that because nowadays it seems that to get the actual job that you really want, you would need to go to school and get an education. I'll be back with my final thoughts after this. Well, you know, as far as that lady who had an issue with the autistic kid and the mother and that gated secluded neighborhood, if she don't like the kid or the noise that he makes and whatnot, why don't she move? I mean, then in the letter she said that everyone else didn't have the guts to tell her. No, I think the neighbors would have said something else. You know, I'm definitely gonna be watching the college football closer than I usually do. As I expect, I kind of expect a lot from the SEC, and under normal conditions, the SEC delivers, including my team, Alabama, on time. I hope that all the kids get good grades this year, whatnot, so they can become who they say they want to be when they grow up. If you have any questions that you would like for me to answer on this show, send me an email at windchaserproductions@gmail.com. You can also find and like Windchaser Productions on Facebook. You can also follow Windchaser Productions on Twitter, believe it or not. And Windchaser Productions now has its own YouTube channel. So basically, you're going to be seeing more of my reviews on its YouTube channel. Well, coming up on the next episode of my reviews, Hellsing Bridge takes on Dragon Ball Z Abridged. No, I take that back. No, correction. Team 4 Star takes center stage. And what's the deal? With Jaden and you? Oh crap! No. I tell you, you just don't know what to expect with my next episode of my review. So just tune in and you'll find out. Till then, I'm your resident one-winged angel.